Most people look for shortcuts. Winners build moats. The fastest moat you can build is reps. More shipping, more feedback, more improvement. Today, I will give you a reps operating system to turn volume into your unfair advantage. Here's the problem. You plan and tweak, then ship one thing and wait. Weeks pass, skills stall, pipeline dries up. You do not have a talent problem, you have a repetition problem. By the end of this episode, I will give you a framework to turn volume into quality, into leads, and into revenue. The reason I wanted to bring this up is because every business, ideally, is looking for a moat. And when I say a moat, it is the distance around your business from your competitors. You want a bigger moat so nobody can touch you. And I'm saying that repetition will do that for you. So every durable operator I know won by repetition. More asks led to more booked calls. More drafts made better videos. More tests built better offers. Volume creates data, and data creates decisions, and decisions creates wins. That's how the cycles go. So here's the plan for this episode. I'm going to give you the reps, the repetition moat flywheel, what to repeat, what to kill, and then how you can implement this quickly, KPIs, and then anti-burnout rules because, as you know, the more volume you do, the more likely you are to hit a wall. Usually I put a story in here as an example of someone who does repetitions has had a great outcome. In this case, that would be the example. But I think you can look at anybody great and think that and know that. And I think the caveat to this is we severely underestimate the amount of work it takes to be great at something. So as an example, if you are a basketball fan, you watch Steph Curry play and you are amazed by his shooting. Yet we rarely think about the amount of practice and repetition that goes on in private, not in public. All the work you do in private shows up in what you do in public. Sports is a wonderful analogy to this. Michael Phelps, we see him at the Olympics. We don't see any of his training, but then we see years later, he talks about in an interview how he didn't miss any days for like 5 years straight.
5 or 6 years, I went every single day without missing a single day. I was in the water on Christmas, birthday, holidays, everything. It didn't matter.
And that's what it takes. That's the repetition. That's all the work unseen. So when you look at your competitors in business, you have to imagine you might only be seeing an 1/8 or 1/16 of the work that's actually public, or if they're, ideally if this is a competitor you're chasing against or working against, to all the work that's going on behind the scenes. And that's all repetitions. And maybe we've lost a bit of that juice. I don't know if you've played a high school sport or sports growing up or anything like that where that's ingrained. You would go to school and you'd go to practice. Or you'd practice before school, go to school, practice after school, and then practice after practice. Like the more reps you could get in, obviously the better you would get. And that was your competitive edge when competing for a spot. Same goes here. It always goes here. Now, just instead of, maybe you are waking up early before your day job to get reps in. And then when you get back home from your day job, you get reps in. Or you get reps in at lunch. You get reps in early in the morning, late at night, whenever you can squeeze them in. That is your competitive advantage. So the Reps Moat Flywheel, volume leads to feedback. Feedback leads to iteration. Iteration builds skill. Skill creates leverage, and leverage expands capacity. So volume climbs again. Something that I want to touch on, and I haven't touched on this yet. I've signed up for a Half Ironman. So this is a fun release, a fun anecdote to share at this point. The amount of volume that has gone into my training for this has been more than anything else that I've done in the past, but there's no way I would be able to do the amount of volume that I'm currently doing had I done it 6 months ago. And it's because of this exact framework. Skill creates leverage, and leverage expands capacity. I now have the capacity, so volume increases again. This episode has been brought to you by All Things Media. We build you a powerful online presence so you can be seen as an authority and bring consistent high-quality leads. Book a call with my team or myself through the description below. We look forward to talking with you. Here's what to repeat for your business. You want core money skills. We're talking offers, hooks, outreach, closes, delivery quality. We want those to repeat as much as we can. You should be saying those in your sleep, or I should say, if it's close or script or outreach, all of this should be done basically in your sleep because you're doing it so much. And a diagnostic rule would be if it moves leads, revenue, or retention, it earns reps. That earns a slot in what you spend your time on. And then you can also do single variable testing, which is change one thing at a time. And the reason that's important is I've done this at least 3 times this year where I've catastrophically decreased the efficiency and likelihood of my success by changing too many things at once. So single variable testing is a great way to go. Here's your kill list: working without a feedback loop, endless planning, and vanity metrics, or you could say vanity edits, or just like editing something for the sake of editing it. That could be in terms of writing, copy, emails, yada, yada, yada. This is when perfectionism gets in the way. And here is a 30-day repetition sprint. So if you are wanting to get more from your audience, you could post 2 short form videos per day, or 1 long and 1 short, and test 1 hook variable. If you want to take this to your pipeline, you could send 30 targeted messages and make 10 dials per weekday. Ask for 1 referral daily. You could, if you're moving to the product, you could ship 1 improvement to your offer or onboarding per day and record 1 Loom SOP per day. If you're looking for your sales, you could run 1 objection drill per day, review 1 call recording, and write 3 fixes. If you're talking your faith and your health, you could spend 15 minutes in scripture and prayer and a daily sweat, get a workout in, because energy is going to fuel those repetitions. And obviously, these numbers, when I'm talking about volume, you're like, these are like, you said send 30 messages. You said post 2 videos. That might be where you're at, but maybe you don't need to hear that. Maybe you need me to say, you need to post 5, you need to post 10, you need to post, whatever the case may be. You find your number based on how the size of your current capacity for each of those. Next thing you're going to want to do is anything that you track gets improved. So we want to measure the output that we're doing. So each day, I would log an output for those things that you're focusing on. So you would log the output, write a 1-sentence thing about what you learned, and then what you would change so you can test again. And then for anything regarding leads, you could measure things like the reply rate, the booked amount per 100 contacts, the pass rate in terms of how many people are accepting these things or moving to the next step, and the cycle time from when you have the idea to the publish to you post it. The next you want to do is you're going to do a weekly review of everything that you've logged. You're going to pick the top 2 or 3 winners based on everything that you found, and then you're going to double down on those. Then you're going to archive what doesn't need to be repeated. So the last thing I'm going to touch on is the anti-burnout rules. You want to batch this effort smartly. When you record 10 hooks in 1 sitting. You want to templatize everything. I think what I also want to be cautious of is not saying you should be putting more volume in with absolute chaos. I think you should take from previous episodes where we talk about systems and do more volume more effectively so you can do even more volume. Same goes for thumbnails, captions, outreach, SOPs, any of those things. Templatize that process and then just do more of it. Then also have a rest rhythm. I believe in the Sabbath. So I have 1 low stimulus day each week where maybe you're not on your phone and you're not doing any work. You won't hear other entrepreneurs say that, but I think it's the right move because God over your goals, baby. Keep that in mind. So the action step for you would be to choose 1 pillar out of everything I mentioned, or maybe you could define something else that needs your attention. Set a non-negotiable daily floor for the next 30 days. Like, what is that thing that you have to do every day? So if you did 2 posts per day, you'd have 60 posts by the end of the month. And if you multiply that, if you post that same post on all platforms, let's say there's 5 of them, that'd be 300 posts across all platforms. It would technically still be just 60 pieces of creative, but it would be in 300 different places. Is that right? Anyway, you're going to open a sheet, have a date, repetition, like what you're doing, the result, and the next change you want to make. You can start that tonight. Pretty simple. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, comment below if you want to see more of this, and like this video. Bye!